Well, Danny, one of the things that we tend to find a lot of problems with, we've already looked at protecting people with passive movements and mobility. We've looked at some active strategies for making muscles turn on. But the other third component that's really huge in back problems is poor movement patterns.
That's right.
So what we're going to look at here is how you work with your hip hinging pattern, because people naturally tend to flex out of their spines to lift, and they're the ones who repeatedly through flexion and poor posture are setting up for basically an injury. So we know if we can teach a better movement pattern, that we can keep the spine in a more neutral position when they learn to lift and move in their daily life and even pick up something off the ground, that they're going to be far safer. So can you show me how you run through the movement pattern changes and corrections?
Absolutely. So as Andrew was saying, a lot of people tend to pick something off the ground with excessive flexion through the lumbar spine, so bending down. So let's just show how a lot of people from the side, if you face that way, how a lot of people would just bend down to pick something quite heavy off the ground. So let's just show a nice, that's it. Whether you're picking up the kids or a box at work, people just don't really think, and naturally they want to try and save energy by using this position, but that can lead and will lead to injury over time. So let's start with the first mobility and movement pattern exercise here. So a standing hip hinge, quite simple. So let's get Julie just placing your hands in the creases at the front of your hips there. Good. Feet shoulder width apart or in your comfortable position. Knees are slightly turned out. From there, bringing those hips back. Good, and forward. It's really important here that we keep our gaze forward and our chest up nice and tall. Already you can see such a difference in how the spine is looking there. Fantastic. People may find this a little bit challenging, particularly if you haven't used this movement pattern in a while. So what we can do is regress it to the kneeling position. So Julie, I'll just get you to kneel down on the ground, please. Good. And it's exactly the same movement pattern. From here, hips back, chest up nice and tall, eyes remaining forward, really driving back and pushing the hips forward, squeezing the glutes there. Good. So on a daily basis, we want to be completing this multiple times a day, 10 reps or plus, 2 to 3 times a day. Let's add a little bit of weight now that Julie's nailed this movement pattern. So I'll get you to stand up. Thank you, and we will use this kettlebell here and perform a kettlebell deadlift. Again, in Julie's comfortable position, ensuring that her knees are tracking in line with her toes. So from here, really pushing the knees wide and simply replicating the same movement pattern here. Chest is up tall, eyes are forward, and the hips are hinging back while bringing the knees out. Sometimes if we stand a little bit too wide, the knees will start to cave in. So let's just get you to bring the feet a touch closer in. Good, and really ensuring that we're using the full potential of the glutes by bringing the knees out. This protects the lower back beautifully. And from here, we have another progression that we want to demonstrate today, the kettlebell swing. Now, this is really important to just simply mimic the exact movement patterns here. We don't turn it into a squat. We don't start lifting with the arms. We've seen a lot of kettlebell variations over time, but this is the way to do it safely and most optimally. So let's use a little bit of momentum with that kettlebell to bring it back, and simply using your hips to help create that momentum of the kettlebell rather than lifting with the arms. So super important to keep that hip hinge motion happening, and we're just adding a little bit of momentum there. Good, let's go 3 more. Perfect kettlebell swings here. Chest is up tall, eyes are forward, and a beautiful hip hinge happening. Thank you.
Well, that looked brilliant, Danny. What you saw there was how Danny was able to progress a person simply within a short period of time into how to learn a standing hip hinge, how to initiate movement forward by pushing the hips backwards. Of course, a little regression for people who have a bit of a challenge, how to perform it from the knees. Sometimes makes it a little bit easier to learn than to transition onto the feet. Then these patterns are simply the ones we use to lift things through the daily life. Pick something off the ground, drive the hips backwards. Kettlebells are great for this sort of exercise practice. So once again, kettlebell deadlifts, one of my favorite exercises, and transitioning it then to a dynamic movement with the wonderful kettlebell swing, which is just such a beautiful movement to drive through the glutes. And Julie was able to demonstrate a beautiful hinge So Danny, really well shown there. That was a lovely progression. As we say, we like people to practice their hip hinging every day for eternity. You don't get a day off.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked what you saw, you can subscribe right here.
Oh yeah.